This is WKYT News at 6:30 on the CW Lexington.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the debut of WKYT News at 6:30 here on the CW Lexington. I'm Jennifer Palumbo.
And I'm Sam Dick. Each weeknight, we will bring you a look at the day's news along with lively conversation about the stories making the headlines. One of the things I like about this, Jennifer, is hopefully get into some more detail about some stories that people are talking about. And, of course, with Dave Baker and Chris Bailey, you know what kind of detailed guys those are. I mean, they can get it deep into it.
And it's exciting. This is the only local news that's on at 6:30, so we are here for you and glad that you're with us. We're going to start off with this photo of Tennessee Titan and former Wildcat Avery Williamson. This story has gone viral. It's about how he honored victims of September 11th by wearing patriotic cleats during yesterday's season opener. It's the most clicked on story right now on WKYT.com, and we'll have more on that coming up in the Sports Buzz with Dave Baker.
He had quite a bit of support for what he was doing from the team.
He did.
Also trending right now on WKYT.com, new details in a Labor Day shooting in Lexington, and people are still reading about last week's arrest of a Kentucky woman with alleged ISIS connections.
Now, here's what we're following right now at 6:30. It's an alarming case out of southern Kentucky. Investigators say this man posed as a police officer to meet a 12-year-old girl. He's now accused of trying to rape the girl.
I'm Kristen Kennedy in Lexington talking with the chief of police about new equipment for his officers. It's equipment meant to combat overdoses.
But it comes with a $20,000 price tag. Tonight we'll take a look at how police can now help save someone's life before an overdose kills them.
Working in an emergency room can be exhausting, not just physically, but also mentally. The mental challenge even has a name. Now, a story from WKYT's Miranda Combs puts compassion fatigue in the spotlight. Well, there is no fatigue about this weather. It is a fantastic day out there.
You know, you've got 2 young kids. I bet that, well, I know they have to go to school, but still they must be really enjoying, like the last weekend we had. Chris has got a young daughter.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is so much fun for families. Well, really anybody.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, basically think of it like this, guys. It's summer that is just going into overtime, right?
Right.
I mean, you know, we're into September now.
But without the 90s.
Without the 90s. Finally, we're getting a little break from the 90s. That's certainly long overdue. And now we're going to start to get into some of the good stuff as we go into the next few days. So we keep the nice weather, but we lose the heat and humidity that we had most of the summer.
I'm just curious. Throw this out to you. What's the highest temperature we've had this year? Because it doesn't seem like it's been much over even 95, let's say.
We've been 90 to 95 for the hottest numbers of the year, all across central and eastern Kentucky for this summer. So we haven't had an exceptionally hot summer per se. The lows this year have been so high that they have skewed the average temperature way above. That's why we had the 6th hottest summer on record, even though we didn't have a whole lot of true hot days out there. We only had, during the summertime, only had 29 90-degree days. The record is up in the 60s.
We also had a lot of rain, though, but right now we got a little over the weekend, but the lawns are still brown in a lot of places.
Can I tell you something? I'm happy about that. I'm tired of mowing, all right? So let's get into it, see what we can find for you over the next couple of days. Live look outside right now. We've got 4 live sky cams showing absolutely gorgeous conditions across central and eastern Kentucky. Nothing going on. Blue skies, humidity is bone dry, and we've got temperatures that are into the low 80s. As a matter of fact, I've got low 80s showing up across the entire area this afternoon. And what will happen now with the dry air, the low humidity, as soon as that sun sets, those thermometers are going to drop in a hurry. And if you're out and about this evening and you're worrying about something coming from the skies, hey, you got nothing to worry about. Though, guys, when I come back in a few minutes, we'll show you a 7-day forecast that gives you a little worry for the weekend.
Chris, thank you. Here's a story that a lot of parents really ought to pay attention to. A really disturbing case out of Laurel County. Tonight, a man is behind bars accused of trying to rape a 12-year-old girl. And
that's not all. Investigators say 22-year-old Joshua Wagers also told the girl he was a police officer. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has our top story at 6:30.
A frantic mother called for help upon learning that a man was preying on her 12-year-old daughter.
I think from that 21-year-old boy here picking up my 12-year-old daughter. So he's already snuck her out of the house once.
Police say the man who tried to pick the girl up around midnight Sunday was Joshua Wagers. Police say the father discovered Wagers' intentions on Snapchat and waited for him to show up while his wife called police.
Is he still there?
Yeah, my husband got him held down out here on the porch.
Got him held down on the porch?
Police say that Wagers had met the girl through a mutual friend and at that time had implied that he was a police officer. Police say a search of Wagers' car found a badge, a police radio, and a gun, but that's not all.
We found a legend drug. We found a white powdery substance. We found a large quantity of alcoholic beverages.
Wagers is charged with attempted rape, impersonating a police officer, and various drug and alcohol charges.
Now, when our deputies got on scene, the male subject told our deputies that he thought she was 16 years old and that they were just going to go riding around.
12 or 16, police say regardless, the charges would still be the same. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Police say Wagers had drugs, alcohol, and police equipment, as well as a box of condoms. 2 people charged in a Lexington murder pleading not guilty in court today. Destiny Huff and Daniel Glasscock are charged with murder and robbery in the death of Victor Villagomez Duarte. Police believe they set up the victim during a drug deal. They're due back in court Thursday for a preliminary hearing.
2 men are in jail in Madison County because of a phone call that police say was made on accident. Berea police say when dispatchers got the call, they could hear people talking about heroin. The dispatcher was able to track the cell phone and sent police to the Circle K on Richmond Road, where they arrested Greg Collins and Justin Cruz after they say they found heroin and a gun. Now, Cruz faces weapons charges. He told us he was only there to buy a soda and doesn't even know Gregory Collins.
And I don't know anything. I know I was arrested, falsely arrested for a concealed weapon that I had nothing to do with, nowhere around a weapon.
Gregory Collins was charged with possession of heroin and meth, resisting arrest, and criminal mischief. And the Lexington Police Department is fighting heroin with another drug. Officers will now carry Narcan with them. The drug is used to reverse the effects of opiate overdoses. Kristen Kennedy talked to Lexington Police about their new tool in this battle against heroin.
Officers in Lexington are now carrying these small black bags. Each contains 1 dose of the opiate antidote Narcan.
If there's that one circumstance or one moment that an officer can help save a life just for the cost of the Narcan, then we want to be prepared for that.
Police Chief Mark Barner doesn't expect his officers to use it often. He says EMS crews are usually the first to respond to overdoses, but with more calls coming in, his men and women may end up at overdose scenes first.
The opiate addiction is showing everyone, not just a certain segment of a community, but everyone is being affected by this, just as it was in the past. So I think it's important to look at it and say, how can we help everyone in our community? And this is not the answer, but it's a helpful solution.
Having 400 kits out on the streets is pricey. The department wrote the more than $20,000 item into their budget, and the city approved it.
There's a cost to saving lives. We understand that, but as our community is struggling with issues, we have to address them.
The chief says in addition to getting more Narcan out on the streets, they're assigning 2 of their narcotics investigators to follow all overdose cases. In Lexington, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Police in the city of Georgetown have also been using Narcan. The kits are paid for by a grant from the Kentucky Agency for Substance Abuse.
Police in one central Kentucky city will soon add body cameras to their list of gear. The Cynthiana Police Department has purchased 20 body cameras for officers. The police chief says the cameras will cost the city $51,000 over a 5-year period. Video storage services account for most of the cost.
We won't actually store it in-house. It'll be stored elsewhere. But the biggest thing for that is you don't have to worry about if an officer is out on a call and the camera's on. He can go back and review afterwards the video, but he can't alter it.
Johnson hopes to have the cameras in use by next month. It's a demanding, stressful job with high stakes. Emergency room doctors are in demand. In 3 minutes, we'll take you behind the scenes in one of Lexington's busiest ERs.
I just immediately got chills over my entire body.
And later, the note a customer left behind that left a Lexington bartender in tears.
Welcome back to WKYT News on the CW Lexington. Over the next 10 years, the U.S. faces a doctor shortage of close to 10,000. Emergency Department Dr. Ryan Stanton says one reason for the decrease in doctors is what he calls compassion fatigue. It's blamed on the chronic exposure to death, suffering, and illness. We gave Dr. Stanton a camera. He chronicled what a doctor in the ER deals with on every shift.
been a pretty adventurous last hour or so. We've done some laceration repairs, some splinting of fractures, some evaluations of a stroke, as well as evaluations of chest pain, abdominal pain.
Dr. Stanton works out of the emergency department at Baptist Health in Lexington. He documented 3 consecutive night shifts for our Miranda Combs. She joins us to break down the news about compassion fatigue. And Miranda, we all love those behind-the-scenes shows, and that's sort of how this played out.
Sure, and he talks about that. You know, everyone loves these reality shows, especially when you're talking about doctors. So this was a chance to go behind the scenes, but he said, I want to point out here, this is what it's really like if you did this every day and not just watch it on TV once a week. So it was interesting. He gave us 3 days, 3 shifts in a row over the Labor Day weekend, which obviously was very busy, and he was able to show us what he sees. And it was interesting because one of the nights he was able to tell us, update us every hour what was going on, and then the second night 5 hours went by before he could even take 45 seconds to update us. That's how busy he was. He talked about the fact that he likes a patient load of 20 patients in one 9-hour shift. Some of those nights, though, he was up to 30 patients.
And that brings us to compassion fatigue, and that's something that doctors are dealing with right now.
And he says the doctors in emergency medicine are seeing this over and over again, where over time it starts to chip away at them. It's kind of like a rock hammer. You don't notice it at first, but over time you start seeing it go into that mountain. And that's exactly what's happening with their mental health and what they're trying to deal with now.
They're seeing illness, they're seeing pain and suffering on a regular basis, working long hours. So what can they do to combat compassion fatigue?
A lot of organizations that deal with physicians are starting to focus on this now and treating the doctor that treats the patient, turning it toward mental health toward them, which they hadn't done for many, many years. And that comes back a lot of times to this doctor shortage. Also, Dr. Stanton talked about resetting. It's important to, when you walk from one patient's room to another, to totally start from scratch with that patient and don't remember what happened in the room before. And that takes practice.
Miranda Combs, thank you so much. And folks at home have a chance to watch Miranda's full story on compassion fatigue. Just go to WKYT.com or look inside the WKYT News app.
I have so much respect for what those people do.
Oh, yeah.
Because every day, every night, they have no idea what's going to come through those doors. And I know your job's important. A lot of people depend on it. But what they do is try to save lives. Now, you do too when it gets stormy.
Exactly. Yeah. When the weather is stormy, though, they're literally right there in their hands. But around here, we don't have to worry about that for a little while. Huh?
And thank you, by the way, for letting me take my coat off. The weather center here, you have to relax.
We go casual around here.
Play by the Chris Bailey rules.
It's almost happy hour. We just roll the sleeves up, take the jackets off, and get into it, especially on a nice weather day, Sam. And that nice weather is rolling on here across central and eastern Kentucky. Not a whole lot that is going to show up tonight or even into tomorrow. Defender Radar Network, nothing going on. Take you into southern Kentucky. This is a part of the state that tomorrow can squeeze out a little isolated shower or thunderstorm. That Corbin cam right now, boy, it looks really, really good, doesn't it? Into the bluegrass region. We'll stay dry tomorrow, but that Clay's Ferry cam looking really, really good. And before too long, we're going to start to see the leaves that are changing colors out there. Hour by hour forecast, end of the day tomorrow. A lot of middle 80s will come your way. Humidity levels will try to rebound just a little bit. Still, though, not too bad. That will kind of kick into high gear on Wednesday, carry us into Thursday. Though Thursday's mainly dry, it could squeeze out a shower or thunderstorm on any given location at any given time on Wednesday. I can't squeeze it out. Mother Nature can. She'll give you at least a threat for a shower or storm, courtesy of this cold front that is out across the Plain States now. That front is going to make its way toward the east. That warm air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico is going to become a little tropical in nature, especially by the weekend. Hour by hour forecast through tonight. We're back into the 50s, heading into the day tomorrow with temperatures that will be upper 70s, low 80s. There you go with a shower in the southeastern Kentucky. Middle of the afternoon, a lot of mid-80s will show up, and by the time we go into the Wednesday time frame, at least the threat for some scattered thunderstorms will begin to show up there. Now, that's front number one. Front number two arrives later Friday and into Saturday, and that will give us a much better chance for some showers and thunderstorms that will likely carry us into Sunday, maybe even Monday as well. That'll be a slow mover in here that will bring some rain, knock the temperatures down a bit, too.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
You bet.
All righty. Where do we go from here? Dave Baker breaks it down next in the Sports Buzz.
6:30, we are talking to Dave Buzz Baker for an inside look at what's going on. The big talk right now, Big Blue Nation, is UK football. Off to a rough start.
It's not just, this is supposed to be basketball state, right?
That too.
You got Louisville, Florida State on Saturday in College Game Day, and you got this Kentucky mess that everybody's talking about.
But we also spent over $100 million on facilities for football, my friend.
Not to mention salaries. We'll get to that in a minute. After a complete beatdown in Florida on Saturday, Mark Stoops said that, you know, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Sunday was a day to lock the doors and circle the wagons at the UK football facility, and today, the public task assuring the faithful that the ship isn't sinking.
You know, some things got to change, some things got to get better, and that's our job as a coach, and that's, you know, my job, and I understand that. So you have to stick to the things that you know will help you win, and you know, stay the course there and stay steady with the things that I know through the course of my career that will help you win. But you also have to adjust and do the things that put your players in a position to execute what you're asking them to do.
All right, so next up, the Wildcats back home on Saturday as they take on New Mexico State, coached by former Wildcat Doug Martin. They upset New Mexico. Everybody thought this was going to be a laydown. This is going to be a tough game, and it really shouldn't be.
That's right, and this is also the team Hal Mummy used to coach.
That's exactly. We still got some Hal Mummy New Mexico State swag, as a matter of fact.
You know, he's on the radio show right now, Mark Stoops is, and was asked about the defense. Will you take a more active role? He said yes. They said, would you elaborate? He said no.
Well, I thought he was already coaching.
But here's the thing, though. And you can go to WKYT.com and you can see the whole news conference. He said things like, we're going to have to simplify. We're going to play with that passion. Well, why aren't you playing with the darn passion now? You're 2 games into the season, and I know he's frustrated, and I know he's working his tail off. But these are questions you shouldn't be asking 2 games in, and I think that's the thing that's frustrating for fans.
The big thing is, will Big Blue Nation show up on Saturday? It is Heroes Day.
Yes.
Dave mentioned tip-off is at 4 o'clock.
Kickoff.
I'm
Basketball
thinking
girl,
basketball. We need the fans. The fans need to be there to show support.
I don't speak for everybody, but I'm a season ticket holder, and I will be there Saturday.
I will be there.
Again, Buzz, these are 18 to 22-year-old kids, and I'm going to try to support them as much as I can. They're not making millions of dollars doing this, and they have worked really hard, and I know they should be playing better.
Right, but there is a significant investment, though. I mean, the dollars are there. You just put $45 million into a facility, and people talk about what's going to happen. These guys got to get through it, because by the time you look at Mark Stoops and his assistant coaches, if they bought everybody off, it would be about $16 million that you season ticket holders would have to come up with before they ever start talking about hiring a new staff, and that's not going to happen. And Mitch Barnhart's just signed a new long-term deal laced with incentives. He's got his whole family here. They've got to figure a way to work this out.
I don't envy him. I mean, this is probably one of the worst starts that anybody can imagine.
It's awful. Yeah. The only thing worse than that is the NFL. Because in the NFL, you can go ahead and disrespect the flag and you can do anything you want. Yep. But if you want to honor heroes, like former Cat Avery Williamson did, and did you see those shoes yesterday where he was going to wear the shoes and he was going to auction them off to help one of the veterans groups, and the NFL said, no, we're not going to do that. And then you know what? Some guys from New Jersey and New York, the veterans said, we're going to pay for it. So he went ahead and wore the darn shoes.
He did it anyway.
And I think that's great.
He did it anyway, and we don't know yet if he's going to get fined by the NFL.
Somebody will take care of that.
There are enough people that are saying you did the right thing, including the Tennessee Titans.
And speaking of the red, white, and blue, how about J.B. Holmes, the Ryder Cup? It's the best thing in golf. J.B. Holmes, 3-time All-American at UK. He had some serious health difficulties. A lot of people thought he was going to be off the tour. He's played in 21 events this year, won $2 million. Last hole yesterday, he had a putt on 18 that was worth $300,000. He made it. Today, Davis Love III named him as a captain's pick to the Ryder Cup team that'll play in Minnesota. Last time he played in the Ryder Cup, he was big in a United States win in 2008. Where? Valhalla in Louisville.
He is a fan favorite. He's overcome a lot, and he's a great story and a great guy.
He is, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with this thing, because we talked about the whole Louisville deal in Florida State this week. There could not be a bigger contrast in terms of what's going on with these programs.
Oh, their quarterback is unreal.
Lamar Jackson is pretty darn good, and Drew Barker has got a week to get himself ready and to try to prove himself again.
Yep. Right. We'll see how it all turns out on Saturday.
This is fun. Can we do it again?
We're going to come back tomorrow, and we've got a name for the thing now,
Let's
right?
do this tomorrow. The sports
Chris Bailey had to have a hand in this. This is unbelievable.
Thanks, Buzz. Ahead tonight here on the CW Lexington. Don't go anywhere. An hour of Family Feud is next. Then back-to-back episodes of Supergirl at 8 and 9.
So everybody say,
hey. This is really neat. Take a look at this. This is cool. A man walked into Lexington's tin roof yesterday on the 15th anniversary of 9/11. He ordered 2 shots of bourbon. He took one of the shots, and then he left the other one with a note that the bartender found. The letter was a dedication to the men and women the man had served with.
And I saw that there was a piece of paper sitting next to the other shot of Woodford. And I looked down at it, and it is a piece of just like regular notebook paper. And I went to go pick it up, and I said, "What's this?" And all of a sudden, the badges fell from the inside, and I just immediately got chills over my entire body.
I have chills. The ship the man served on was the USS New York that carries 7.5 tons of World Trade Center steel in its bow. What a special tribute.
We could make that up. That was beautiful.
No, it's great.
Beautiful like Chris Bailey's forecast for tonight.
I thought you were going to say beautiful like Chris Bailey.
No, I'm not going that far.
Stop you right there.
Chris Bailey and beautiful only collide in the same sentence when it's a forecast, right?
Right. Like
I know where you're going.
Yes.
I know where you're going with that.
All right, beautiful. Go ahead.
Yeah, the next couple of days, we look pretty good end of the day tomorrow. If you like summer, hanging on, putting on a little overtime, 85 tomorrow. Could be a storm or two Wednesday. Unfortunately, high school football games and Commonwealth Stadium could be a little wet this weekend.
I know Big Blue Nation needs to show up, though. It's Heroes Day. Yep. They will be honoring the first responders, police, firefighters, and all the armed services members. So hopefully the weather will cooperate.
And just remember, Dave said, a tough game.
I think it will be a tough game. I mean, New Mexico State had no business beating New Mexico, and the way this team is playing right now, they are really, really fragile.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for WKYT News at 6:30.